Make sure that we are recording. All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining us. I'm going to take today to go over exploring the online access. This is Jenny with Cutler Investment Group, and you have a great tool online available at your fingertips, which a lot of you have logged in to see your account balance. But I wanted to take some time just to go through and highlight some specific items within your online access that you may or may not have known you had access to or how to use it. So hopefully you find this helpful. First off, for your online access, the address is cutlermplan.com, and the great thing about online is you can change your salary deferrals, you can change your investment options, access account statements, apply for a loan, update your beneficiary, and I'm going to walk you through kind of where all of that is. For those of you who have not logged in before, your first time logging in is your social security number with no dashes, and the password is the last 4 digits of your social security number. So there's that tidbit of information for you. So when you first log in, it takes you to a summary of your plans, and you see your 2 different plans broken out, your 401k and the pension. Now this might look different to you if you only look at your paper statement, because your paper statement does combine these 2 totals, but within here it is broken out separately, your 401k and your pension. And I'm going to spend time really highlighting your options within the 401k platform. So you'd click on the hyperlink, the 401k, right under Plan Selections, and then it takes you to your dashboard. On your dashboard, there are 3 boxes: retire on time, your account balance, and your contribution rate. And then if you scroll down below that, it has your portfolio, which gives you a breakdown of what you're invested in. So this, for example, this person is invested in the target date 2035, and they have a loan on their account. If you click on Source View, right under View there is a drop-down box, and if you change it from the Overview, which it defaults to Source View, it'll give you a breakdown of where those funds came from. So a breakdown, for example, of what you've put into the plan, of the loan, of the rollover amount, and the safe harbor contribution from the company. So it gives you that breakdown of those assets. Now, just to go over the specific first 3 tabs of the 3 boxes on your dashboard, I'm going to go through those in detail so that you can kind of have an understanding of how those work. Now, if anybody has any questions, please stop me as I'm going through this, or if you want a further explanation, because this is an open conversation, so feel free. So that first one, retire on time. In the top right-hand corner of the retire on time, there's a button in the drop down, and the first one is edit goals. So a lot of times this says, like, you know, you're 10% on the way or 105% on the way, and a lot of people don't really understand what this is looking at. So I wanted to take a minute to address it. So basically, click edit goals, and then it takes you to your calculations. So some general retirement goals. First, what you want to make in retirement on an annual basis, when you plan on your retirement beginning, and how long you think you're going to live. So this is saying, okay, if you need $45,000 annually in retirement, you would have a monthly projected income of $3,750. And the prior chart is saying, are you on track or off track to meet those retirement goals based on your current balance and the current amount you're saving? So that's what that on track percentage represents. And so that's just a basic calculation. In addition to that, you can click Start My Retirement Analysis, which takes you into a much more detailed retirement forecasting. So within here, if any of you have ever done this, you can see there's a lot of detail. There's all the different tabs up top. You've got About You, which has your marital status, personal information, and then Setup, where you go and drill down to the year you plan on retiring, and how long you plan on living, what your annual earned income currently is, and then you can build in assumptions there. And then on the other tabs, you've got income, which you would put in your forecasted Social Security income, your assets, if you have any other 401k or outside savings accounts, and then it gives you your results to see how on track you are to retire on time. You can also do comparisons and what ifs, so you can change these to build in some hypothetical situations like, what if I want to retire at 64, or what if I live to 110? You can change those forecasts within there without changing your built setup plan. You can do just some forecast planning within there. This is a really sophisticated tool because you're building in what your return pre-retirement is, what your post-retirement is, and this is a great tool that I'm happy to sit down with you on an individual basis and go through this if you'd like to do it. I mean, it's available for you to do yourself, but sometimes the results don't really make sense to you, and maybe there's an input that was left out. You know, if you leave out a key component like Social Security and you are nearing retirement age, it's going to look a lot different than if you did include those Social Security estimates. So again, just a really neat tool to forecast for retirement. Now, the second box within your dashboard that is really useful is basically it's your summary, your account balance, and it has a rate of return built in there, just what your current rate of return is. But at the bottom of that box, you can click on Manage Account. And then once you get into the Manage Account, you have a lot of options within here. You can change your investment direction. You can transfer funds from one investment to another. You can rebalance your portfolio or change your contributions. I want to highlight the investment direction, the first box within here. So this one is important when you want to change your fund lineup. So if you are in a target date fund, for example, 100% of your assets are in the target 2045, and you want to be a little more conservative, you're nervous about a recession coming and want to be a little more conservative, and you want to move to the target 2035. You would just put 100% in the new election box and then hit next and confirm, and you've transferred your investment direction from the 2045 to the 2035. So it's pretty straightforward to change that from one investment to another. And again, if you wanted to change within the individual funds, you do all of that within here. And you can change your investments on a daily basis. Now, obviously, if you're making changes to it on a daily basis, I'd really recommend you picking up the phone and calling me, because your retirement account should not be used for day trading, but just to let you know the flexibility that you have to make changes to your retirement. You're not locked into anything, not open enrollment once a year. If you want to change your investments, you can do that on a regular basis. So I wanted to highlight that and how easy it is to do that. And then the last highlight box on the dashboard is the contribution rates. So within the contribution rates, if you click Change Contributions at the bottom, it brings you to a screen. And you click the arrow boxes, either no change, stop your contributions if you need to stop them for some reason, or change your contributions. If you want to increase it from 5% to 10%, you click Change Contributions, put in your new amount, hit Next. It'll then take you to the next contribution rate from pre-tax to Roth, and then if you don't want to make a Roth contribution, you would just leave that as no changes, next, and then it will give you a confirmation screen stating, okay, we've made your change, and then that change takes effect on the following pay period. So, and as long as it's in X amount of days, on the following beginning of the month. So if you made the change today, it would take effect on the first pay period of March. Does that make sense? All right, yes. I will just assume you're all on mute. Okay, thanks, Carol. Okay, so those are the three boxes within the dashboard. There are a few other things that I want to highlight within your online access that are really useful. First off is the Learning Center. At the top, you have the option in this drop-down of Learning Center. One of the really cool things in there is the retirement calculator. The one I went through was like a really sophisticated tool where you're putting in, your anticipated return before retirement, after retirement, all of that fun stuff. This is a retirement calculator within your program, and you put in your age, your retirement age, your life expectancy, your current salary, annual increases, your expected retirement income. So if you notice in this example, it's at 70%. The reason it's not 100% is in this example we built out is because typically in retirement you can afford to live off less. You know, you're not driving as much. Maybe your house is paid off. Your kids don't live at home, hopefully, and your overall expenses within your household are less. So you can live off of a smaller percentage of your salary, 70% there. Your current retirement plan assets you have, your annual contribution rate with your company match, if you have any other savings accounts, your Social Security estimated annual benefit, you build all of that in, including returns and your expected inflation, and hit calculate, and then it gives you results. It shows you basically your projected income. So you would like to receive an annual income in that example of $52,000 a year. You plan to receive X amount from Social Security. The remaining $32,000 would have to come from your retirement savings. So in order to achieve that goal, your retirement savings would need to be about $440,000. According to all the information you plugged into that chart, you are estimated to have $475,000 in retirement. So you are on track and meeting you're exceeding your retirement goals of about by $36,000. So this is just a really nice tool. I like it because people will ask me, well, if I save 10%, you know, will I have enough to retire? It all depends. It depends on your income, your lifestyle, how much you need in retirement. And so this tool really helps you forecast for that, showing you, okay, based on your salary, how much you need in retirement, you know, where do I need to be to get there to retire at your desired age? And it helps see if you're on track or off track. So again, that's just a really useful tool that is somewhat more straightforward than the other more complex tool that is available to you. The next thing I want to highlight online, in the top gray bar, there is a tab called Withdrawals. You can now take withdrawals online, directly online with no paperwork. Obviously, withdrawals, you can do an in-service if you are of age, but otherwise you cannot take out money while you are still employed unless it's via a loan. So your loan option, you have two different options, a residential loan or just a general use loan. The general use loan is going to be a 5-year term, and the residential loan is going to be a 30-year term. The max you can borrow is 50% of your account, or $50,000, whichever is less. And to take out a loan, there is an origination fee of $100 and a quarterly maintenance fee of less than $10. A great feature of a loan is you're borrowing money from yourself, and the interest you pay is prime plus 1, and that interest is paid back to yourself as well. Now, loans are a great option in, you know, dire need. Obviously, this money has been set aside for retirement. So it's not the number one place you should be thinking about pulling money from, but it is an option if you need it. And basically, if you're throwing around ideas, trying to decide where you want to take money from, you should pick up the phone and call me, because if it's a first-time home purchase and you need these assets as your down payment, it is a resource that is available to you. The great thing about it, too, is it tells you the amount that you are able to borrow. So right here in this example, you are able to borrow up to $4,562. This is important because maybe in your account balance you're showing you have $15,000. You can only borrow from the amount that you have put in. So, for example, your company is very generous and gives you guys 3% to the 401k and 3% to the pension. If you have never saved for retirement and everything within your account is a company contribution, you will see under this loan option it's 0, because you have not put anything in. There is nothing for you to borrow against of your money. I hope that makes sense to everybody. But again, this is a great tool to see how much would actually be available for you if you wanted to take a loan. Another important thing I want to highlight about online is beneficiaries. I know we've had lots of talks about beneficiaries within your firm in general because, people pass and don't have beneficiaries on file, or they pass and they have an X on file, and that's not who they wanted their money to go to. So it's really important that you have current beneficiaries on file, and just check it on a regular basis, on an annual basis at least, just to make sure who you have on file is who you want it to be. I always encourage people not to list a boyfriend and girlfriend because anything can happen. At that point, it's better to leave it to your parents. But yes, definitely update your beneficiaries. To update your beneficiaries, you click on this gear wheel in the top right-hand corner. It's not super intuitive, but in the top right-hand corner, you click on that gear wheel. This little box will pop up, personal information. Click on beneficiaries, and then it will pop you to a screen where you can populate all of your beneficiary information. Within this slide, you can designate a primary beneficiary. You can add multiple primary beneficiaries, like if you want to leave part to your brother and part to your sister. You can do that by doing primary 50%, add another primary 50%. You can also add contingent beneficiaries, which basically means, let's say my primary 100% is my spouse. Well, my spouse and I both die at the same time. Having a contingent on file is the next person in line that the money would go to. So you don't have to have a contingent, but it is sometimes nice to have in case something were to happen to the two of you at the same time. I know, morbid a little to talk about death, but it is so important to have a beneficiary on file. I'm sure Carol can emphasize the importance of this because it is something that we don't always think about. That it's not going to happen to me, I'm not going to die, or I would never leave my ex on there, but it happens too often. It happens way too often, so we want to make sure that everybody is logging in and putting their beneficiary in. If you log in and your beneficiary is blank, that doesn't necessarily mean that there's not a paper copy on file that you filled out when you started 5 years ago. The online feature of this beneficiary is relatively new within the past year. So because it's blank doesn't mean you don't have one, but fill it out because it will supersede any beneficiary that is on paper. So fill out your beneficiary, make sure you have a beneficiary on file. I think I have emphasized that enough, how important it is. Another item I want to highlight about online is you can review performance. A lot of times I get some feedback in having conversations with participants. They want to know how their account did, or what was it up last year in comparison to this year. So on your portal, you have access to view performance. So within the gray bar on top, there is an option called performance. And within there, there's all kinds of different performance you can look at, but the rate of return is going to show you the performance specific to what you are invested in. And you can view annual performance, you can do a custom range, quarterly, monthly. Here on this example, we're looking at quarterly for last year for what this person was invested in, showing how it did each quarter, which gives you a breakdown and kind of emphasize this. There is, so this is rate of return, and then there is investment performance. That's another choice within there. So instead of showing you what you are invested in, you can review the performance of all of the funds that are available for you to invest in, just to kind of get an idea. If you used to be in the 2045 and you moved to the 2025 because you were nervous, you can look at history and say, oh, did I make the right choice? Or, should I have another conversation with my advisor to see what I should be doing? Obviously, your investment decisions should never be based on performance. We should be talking about time horizon, when you need the money, the appropriate amount of risk that you're comfortable with. But performance is a fact that people like to know. And so I just kind of wanted to show you where you can see it. I like to emphasize this too because I got a call mid-January from a participant who called me and said, I'm really unhappy with this 401k. I haven't been making any money. And right there I was stopped in my track because the S&P was up 26% last year. So, I was a little concerned. So we went to his account, we pulled up his performance, and his funds that he was invested in returned 22%. So sometimes, it's group talk and everybody is just sitting around saying, oh, the portfolio didn't do very good. But 22%, I will take that any day, every day. So you can see your performance within here, which is a nice tool. You guys do have a mobile app. This was launched about a year ago, and the mobile app is nice. You can have it on your phone. It's the same username and password as you log in on the regular computer, where you can view your balance and performance. You can even change your contributions through the app. There's also access to helpful videos which cover all aspects of retirement, whether it's refinancing a home, planning for college. There's just all kinds of educational tools available for you. So that is a neat resource to have. Sometimes I discourage people from downloading the mobile app because you really shouldn't be checking your balance on a daily basis. Mostly because these assets are set aside for retirement. So worrying about the fluctuation from day to day shouldn't be as concerning as, am I in something that is appropriate for me to retire at the year I want to retire? But it is a nice tool and available for you. The app that you search for is PCS Account Link, and it's for Google and Android and Apples. So that is kind of a highlight of everything that, most common questions I get and most important things on the online tool. Did anybody have any other questions or things I could address about online?
I had a quick question, Jenny. When you were talking about the 2045, the 2035, and the 2045, where do you you get the explanation on those? And so, I mean, how do you know how much, if one is really aggressive or if one is, just steady? So just some information on that.
Yeah, of course. Perfect. So obviously the target 2025 and the target 2055, those years, those represent the year you plan on retiring. So for example, the 2025 is 5 years from now. So the closer you get to retirement, the more conservative it's going to be. The further from retirement, the more aggressive it's going to be. That's just a general explanation of them. But all of these within here are hyperlinks. So you can click on it and it gives you an explanation. It shows you all of the asset allocations within that fund. So anything you wanted to know about it. Same with all the individual funds. It takes you to Morningstar Direct and it will show you the expense ratio, the past performance, all of the details. Anything and everything you'd want to know about that fund is there hyperlinked for you. Okay. And if you have further questions, Carol, that's always, a great opportunity to pick up the phone and call me, and I can walk you through the difference of all of those as well. But yeah, that target year is important to understand. It's the year you plan on retiring, and obviously the further you are away from the current year, the more aggressive that strategy is going to be.
I have a question. Do you guys automatically set those target years by the person's age?
So those target years, you do default to those target years have age bands on them. So if you did not go in and elect your investments, you have defaulted to an age-appropriate target date. That is correct. But that doesn't mean that's what you have to stay in. That is just kind of where you default because it is the most suitable investment for that age group. But you can always go in and change it to be more conservative or more aggressive and make adjustments as you see fit.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, so yeah, that's why it's important to get in there and, manage your own investment. So if you're 20 years old, then obviously you're going to go into the 2045.
The 2065.
2065. Oh, 50.
Yes, you're going to be real aggressive if you're 20.
Yeah, okay.
So what if you plan on living to 100 and you save for that, but you end up living to 103? What happens?
Well, hopefully you did not save the exact dollar amount you needed to get you through 100.
Okay, so
But-
if you live over or under, there's a little bit of wiggle room there?
Well, these aren't annuities. They aren't exact payments. It's just a planning tool, right? So if you say you want to live till 100, this is going to estimate, okay, you would need X amount of dollars to live this lifestyle based on your current salary to get you through the next 30 years. What I definitely recommend is to overplan than underplan. I love when I meet with people and their retirement plan is they're going to die. You know, like I'm only going to live till 65. I'm like, okay, well, what if you live longer? Like, how are you going to support yourself? And so, you know, a lot of times you want to look at your family history. You know, if everybody in your family dies around age 70, you know, planning till 80 or 90 is probably pretty conservative for you. If everybody in your family has died at 70, I would still plan for you to live longer, because as healthcare advances, you know, we live longer. But maybe it's reasonable that you're not forecasting you're going to live till 100. But again, I don't want you to plan on 70, because what if you live till 75?
I guess my kids will take care of me.
Well, I hope so. But yeah, I mean, if you have the resources, you definitely to be more conservative on the planning, you want to be, to make sure you don't run out of money.
Okay. How do we get our Social Security estimate? Oh, is this something to ask?
Yes. So if you go to socialsecurity.gov, you can log in, create a login, and find your estimates. I know I think if you're like under 40, they don't actually mail estimates anymore. You have to log in online and get your estimates yourself. Otherwise, you should get an annual statement from Social Security, a little green slip that has your estimated amounts. But it's really easy to log in to socialsecurity.gov and find your estimates.
Awesome. I have
Yeah,
one more
because they have all
question.
of your work history in there. Yes.
I have another question, and it might be a little dumb, but I'm going to ask it anyway. So the Roth contributions, can you go? That would be like a third option for us to save. That's right.
So you have a 401k to save for retirement, and you can defer your salary deferral. You can choose to have it taken out of your paycheck before taxes, pre-tax, traditional, or after taxes, Roth. So you are able to save $19,500 plus an additional $6,500 for 2020, whether it's pre-tax, traditional, or after-tax Roth. So it's not a third tool per se. It's not like an additional account. It's still your 401k. It just depends how it comes out of your paycheck.
So what would be the benefit of doing the Roth, the taxed one, instead of doing the pre-tax?
Oh, so many benefits. And this is definitely something that I will cover and address when I come for the open enrollment. But taxes. Do you want to pay your taxes today or in the future? Let's say you save $10,000. If you're on the cusp of a tax bracket, let's say, you know, $40,000 is a 12% tax bracket, and you make $45,000, you're now in a 22% tax bracket for single. If you contributed $5,000 or $8,000 to the 401k, you've dropped yourself from taxable income from that 22% tax bracket back down to the 12% tax bracket. So that's a big benefit of doing pre-tax. Same scenario, you save your $8,000. That $8,000, you save it Roth after tax. That $8,000 grows to $100,000 by the time you retire. You get to take out that full $100,000 without paying taxes on it. So it's just kind of a benefit on, do you want to pay your taxes now or later? And again, I will be talking more about this in the group presentation in March,
Okay.
because
And
that
will
is a
you
big
go over,
topic.
will you go over tax brackets in that presentation?
I will not, because that's just all based on income, but
Okay. I'll be prepared. I'll look them up before I come.
But
okay.
Jenny will be after anyway.
Yeah, I can meet with you on an individual basis.
Okay, awesome.
Perfect.
Yeah, of course. Any other questions?
No, I think we're good over here.
We're good.
Okay. Well, thank you all for your time. I really appreciate it, and I hope you found this somewhat beneficial.
Thank you, Jenny. This was